This is the time to give in and do your best. Inspiration Brian Tracy. Have you ever caught yourself thinking you are destined for something greater, but feel like something is always missing? Maybe it's a lack of time, courage, or even a clear strategy to get out of the place. Sound familiar? The truth is that many go through life waiting for a perfect moment to act, but that moment never arrives. What few know, and here is the controversy, is that success waits for no one. It is conquered by those who are willing to pay the price now, to reap the rewards later. And, it's not always about doing extraordinary things, but about doing the simple things consistently. Brian Tracy, one of the greatest personal development mentors, says anyone can transform their life. The key is to change small habits, invest in yourself, and learn to deal with everyday challenges with discipline and focus. It may seem counterintuitive, but giving up immediate pleasures is what brings the greatest rewards. It's a game of patience, but with guaranteed results. So, if you're tired of feeling like time is slipping through your hands or that you're living on autopilot, know that there is a way out. This is the time to abandon excuses, commit to your goals, and do your best. And if you think this is difficult, wait until you discover how a few simple adjustments to your mindset and the use of your time can completely transform your path. Are you ready to learn and start this change? Success is like planting a tree. It requires patience, care, and above all, sacrifice. Brian Tracy teaches that the seeds of sacrifice we plant today bear fruit that will last forever. Today's society pushes us to want everything now. But have you noticed that what comes easily usually leaves at the same speed? Think of a student who dedicates his weekends to studying while his friends have fun. He is giving up leisure time to reap a brilliant career in the future. It's not about missing the moment, but about choosing a path that rewards you in a lasting way. In fact, what are you willing to sacrifice to achieve what you want? Maybe a few hours of sleep to build your own business, like so many successful people have done. Imagine someone like Steve Jobs, who spent nights and nights working in his parents' garage to create Apple. This dedication comes with a cost, but also with a reward that few have the courage to achieve. Brian Tracy always reinforces, success is like a muscle, and sacrifice is the training that strengthens it. And make no mistake, sacrifice doesn't just mean work. Sometimes it could be as simple as turning down that second episode of the series so you can go to bed early and wake up refreshed. The act of saying no to what seems harmless can be the difference. But it's just one episode. This is how the decline of great promises begins. Small daily sacrifices, made consistently, build gigantic legacies. Have you ever noticed how great athletes treat rest as part of their routine? Sacrificing a night of partying to ensure recovery is what keeps them on top. Sacrifice, for Brian Tracy, is also related to vision. He talks about how immediate pleasures can cloud the future we desire. Think about someone who chooses to invest in a course instead of buying a new cell phone. The temptation is there. After all, who doesn't want a state-of-the-art model? But this person knows that the learning acquired will be worth much more over time. It's like planting an orchard. While some people pick apples at the supermarket, others grow trees that will bear fruit for years. Furthermore, sacrifice is a matter of choice. Choosing well where to invest your time and energy is the secret to building something meaningful. Imagine a young professional who gives up parties to network with leading people in his field. Yes, he is sacrificing something that may seem like fun, but what is he gaining in the long run? Connections that can boost your career. Brian Tracy argues that the quality of choices defines the quality of success. So start small. Replace half an hour of social media with an enriching book. And you know what's curious? Over time, sacrifice stops feeling like a pain and becomes a habit. Things that were difficult before, like waking up early or studying for hours, become part of who you are. Anyone who has had the experience of changing a habit knows this. The first few days may seem unbearable, but after a few weeks, the practice becomes natural. This is what Brian Tracy calls cultivated discipline, an essential pillar for success. Speaking of discipline, it takes us to an even deeper point: investing in yourself. Sacrificing fleeting moments to invest in your growth is the first step to transforming the future. So, Have you ever stopped to think about how small changes in the present can create big impacts on your tomorrow? Few habits have as transformative an impact as investing in yourself. Brian Tracy, a master in personal development, highlights that knowledge is an asset that no one can take away from you. While many trade valuable hours for momentary distractions, those who choose to learn are building a solid future. Think about it. What are you doing today that can make your tomorrow more promising? Replacing an hour of social media with a chapter of a good book is a decision that over time could change your life. Try something like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or Who Thinks Gets Rich. Small actions, big transformations. And it's not just about reading. Investing in yourself means understanding that skills are the new currency. Have you ever thought about learning something new? A digital marketing course, for example, can open doors in an ever-expanding market. And if the idea of starting from scratch seems daunting, remember that every expert was once a beginner. Brian Tracy encourages us to see each learning experience as a step. The higher you climb, the further you see. The question is, which step will you climb today? Now imagine yourself in a competitive market. Who stands out? Those who do the basics or those who go beyond? The simple act of dedicating 30 minutes a day to learning something new puts you ahead of 90% of people. Consider someone who decides to learn a language. In a year, by dedicating themselves daily, this person will be able to maintain a basic conversation. Meanwhile, those who gave up in the first week remain in the same place. Brian Tracy teaches that the secret is in constancy. Small daily efforts are more effective than large sporadic efforts. But it is not enough to just acquire knowledge. You need to apply it. What's the point of reading books or taking courses if you don't put anything into practice? Think of a chef who studies incredible recipes but never cooks. The same goes for you. Want to start a project? Don't wait for the ideal moment. It never comes. Start small, test, adjust. Brian Tracy suggests starting with what you have, where you are. Want to learn about investments? Open an account with a broker and experiment with low amounts. Real learning comes from experience. Another crucial point about investing in yourself is that it goes far beyond your career. Taking care of your body and mind is also essential. Swapping junk food for a balanced diet or setting aside 10 minutes a day for meditation are ways to invest. It seems simple, but the results accumulate over time. Physical and mental well-being is the foundation for any other achievement. And if you think you don't have time, ask yourself, is the problem a lack of time or a lack of priority? And there's more. The act of developing yourself inspires others around you. Think of a team where the leader is always looking to improve. This behavior not only motivates others, but also creates an environment of continuous growth. You can be that example, starting with small things. Sharing a valuable tip, recommending a book, or even showing enthusiasm for something new can impact more people than you realize. Brian Tracy believes that individual learning reverberates in collective waves. And if the sacrifice of investing in yourself seems great, remember, the return is even greater. Each book read, each course taken, each skill developed is a seed planted in the present. But what happens when these seeds start to grow? Well, that's where time management comes in, another essential ingredient for success. If there is one thing that everyone has in common, it is the fact that there are only 24 hours in a day for each of us. So why do some people achieve so much while others get lost in the chaos? Brian Tracy teaches us that the difference is in how we use time. It's like money. You can spend it or invest it. And honestly, how much of your time are you actually investing? Think of a successful entrepreneur like Elon Musk, who divides his hours with almost surgical precision. He does not let time slip through his fingers, but uses it as a valuable asset. Good time management starts with prioritization. Have you ever heard of the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle? Brian Tracy is a big supporter of this concept, who states that 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. So the key question is, what is your 20%? We are often so busy that we forget to be busy with what really matters. Try listing your daily tasks and ask yourself, which of these activities really bring me closer to my goals? And it's not just about work. Managing time also involves saying no to things that don't add value. Social networks are a classic example. How many times have you promised to take a quick look at Instagram and suddenly find yourself scrolling through your timeline for hours? Brian Tracy reminds us that time is like an invisible bank account. Every second spent on something useless is a withdrawal that cannot be reversed. To avoid this, try using tools like alarms to limit the time spent online. After all, do you control your time or does it control you? Another essential aspect of time management is planning ahead. Not planning is planning to fail. This phrase sounds cliché, but it is incredibly true. Before bed, take 5 minutes to define your 3 most important tasks for the next day. This simple practice, which Brian Tracy calls ABCD method, helps you stay focused and avoid the feeling of always putting out fires. Also, try blocks of time to work on specific projects. When you divide your day into blocks, interruptions decrease and productivity increases. And do you know what the biggest enemy of time management is? Procrastination. The famous phrase, "I'll do it later," has shattered more dreams than anything else. Brian Tracy suggests tackling the most challenging tasks first thing in the morning, when energy is at its highest. He calls it eating the frog. It may not be pleasant, but once it's done, the rest of the day flows more smoothly. Want a practical example? If you are afraid of making important calls, resolve this before doing any other task. The relief will be immediate. Furthermore, it is crucial to understand that not everything needs to be done by you. Delegating tasks is an underrated but powerful skill. Imagine a manager who tries to do everything alone. He gets tired, makes more mistakes, and, in the end, doesn't deliver what really matters. Brian Tracy teaches that delegating is trusting, and trusting is multiplying time. If you have a team, ask yourself, who can take on this task? And if you work alone, consider outsourcing secondary activities to free up space for what is truly strategic. The magic of time management is realizing that the secret is not to do everything, but to do what matters. Every minute well spent is an investment in the future. And when you start to reap the rewards of this organization, you will see how much easier it will be to shift from a consumer mindset to a producer mindset, something essential to achieving true success. The biggest change you can make in your life is to switch from a consumer mentality to a producer mentality. Brian Tracy teaches us that creating value is what differentiates those who lead from those who follow. But what does it actually mean to have a producer mentality? It's simple. While a consumer spends time and energy absorbing content or goods, the producer uses that same time and energy to build something that benefits not only himself, but also others. Think of a content creator, an entrepreneur, or a writer. These people produce, generate impact, and build legacies. A practical example of this can be seen in the digital world. Imagine 2 people browsing YouTube. One spends hours watching random videos. The other, however, decides to create their own channel, sharing the knowledge or skills they have. The first consumes, while the second produces. In a short time, the person who decided to create content begins to attract followers, generate income, and build a personal brand. In the big balcony, Brian Tracy emphasizes that you don't have to be perfect to get started. You just need to start. But changing your mindset requires conscious effort. It's easy to fall into the trap of passive consumption, especially when we're surrounded by distractions. Social networks, series, games, all of this is fun, but is it helping you grow? Replacing an hour of scrolling on your timeline with an hour of creating something may seem challenging at first, but the results are worth it. How about starting by writing a blog, learning to play an instrument, or even developing an app? Brian Tracy suggests that you focus on something that sparks your passion, as this makes the process much more enjoyable. Having a producer mentality also means looking for solutions instead of problems. While the consumer complains about how unfair the world is, the producer finds ways to create opportunities. Think about someone who lost their job. Consumers lament, watch series to escape reality, and wait for something to happen. The producer takes advantage of the time to learn new skills, build a portfolio, and reposition himself in the market. It's this mindset that turns challenges into stepping stones to success. Another important point is the impact of this mentality on the way you see yourself. When you produce, you begin to realize the value of your time and work. This increases your self-esteem and strengthens your confidence. Imagine how fulfilled you would feel seeing people consuming something you created, be it a product, a text, or even an idea. Brian Tracy explains that the act of producing not only generates external results, but also transforms you inside. And the change doesn't have to be radical all at once. Start small. If you work a traditional job, how about creating something in your free time? It could be a YouTube channel, an ebook, or even an online business. The important thing is to take the first step. And if doubt arises, am I good enough? Remember, no one starts at the top. Brian Tracy highlights that learning comes with practice, and practice only happens when you decide to start. As you adopt this mindset, you will realize that producing is addictive. The satisfaction of creating something of your own surpasses any momentary pleasure of consumption. And that's where the scales tip in your favor, turning your time into a multiplier resource. But there is a detail. The producer mentality requires discipline, because without it, the regret of not taking action can become a heavier burden than the effort itself. Life is made of choices, and each choice carries a price. Brian Tracy highlights that there are two types of inevitable pain: the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The difference? The first weighs grams, the second tons. It's easy to understand why. Imagine yourself 5 years from now, looking back and realizing all the opportunities missed due to lack of action. This is the weight of regret, a burden that only increases with time. Discipline, on the other hand, is temporary, a small renunciation in the present to reap rewards in the future. Discipline, no matter how challenging it may seem, is the key to achieving your goals. Think of someone who wants to have a healthy life. The decision to swap ultra-processed foods for nutritious meals, or to go to the gym instead of staying on the couch, may seem difficult at first. But over time, these habits become natural. Brian Tracy points out that discipline is not about making extreme sacrifices, but about being consistent. Starting small, like walking 20 minutes a day, is a big step in the right direction. On the other hand, regret has a profound emotional cost. Who has never found themselves thinking, what if? What if I had started that course? What if I had invested more time in my dreams? These thoughts not only erode confidence, but they also consume energy that could be used to act in the present. To avoid this, Brian Tracy recommends the practice of reverse view. Imagine what would happen if you did nothing to change your situation. This technique creates a sense of urgency that motivates action. And don't think that discipline is something reserved for superhumans. It is within everyone's reach. A simple example is the technique of microhabits. Want to start reading more? Instead of trying to devour a book in a week, read 2 pages a day. It seems little, but in a month, you will have read 60 pages. The secret, as Brian Tracy explains, is to build momentum. When you see progress, even if small, motivation grows and discipline strengthens. But discipline is not just a tool for achieving goals. It also brings peace of mind. Knowing that you are doing what needs to be done eliminates the stress of putting off important decisions. Think about how liberating it is to tackle a pending task instead of carrying it around like a burden. Brian Tracy suggests starting the day by solving the most difficult task, the famous frog rule, because this frees up energy for the rest of the activities. Regret, on the other hand, is like a shadow that follows you wherever you go. It manifests itself in the opportunities you didn't take advantage of, the words you didn't say, and the steps you didn't take. A classic example is someone who wanted to start a business, but never had the courage. 5 years later, the person realizes that the market has evolved and that they missed a unique chance. The pain of repentance is permanent, while the pain of discipline is temporary. It's like Brian Tracy always says, pay the price now or pay the price later, but know that the price later is always higher. When you embrace discipline, you are building a regret-free future. Every conscious action in the present is a brick in building a solid and satisfying life. And it's curious how discipline, when internalized, begins to shape even emotions. After all, those who maintain control over their decisions also learn to control their feelings, an essential step in dealing with the challenges that arise along the way. Keeping your emotions under control is not only a sign of maturity, but also one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Brian Tracy teaches that emotional stability is an essential tool for making rational decisions and inspiring confidence. After all, who has never made a decision in the heat of the moment and regretted it soon after? Knowing how to manage your emotions is like driving a car at high speed. If you lose control, the chances of an accident increase exponentially. A practical example of this is the professional environment. Imagine a leader who explodes with rage at the slightest mistake made by the team. This behavior not only demotivates employees, but also compromises the team's performance. Now think of a leader who, even in difficult situations, remains calm and offers solutions instead of destructive criticism. Which one inspires the most confidence? As Brian Tracy points out, controlling emotions is a way of showing strength, not weakness. This doesn't mean repressing what you feel, but learning to channel your emotions in a productive way. And how to develop this control? A simple and effective technique is conscious breathing. When you feel like you're about to react impulsively, take a deep breath and count to 10. It sounds cliché, but it works. The pause creates space for the mind to process the situation and act more thoughtfully. Another strategy is to record your feelings in a journal. Writing about your emotions helps you identify them, understand them, and, most importantly, prevent them from taking over you. Brian Tracy suggests this practice as an exercise in self-knowledge. Furthermore, controlling emotions is not just about dealing with anger or frustration. Excessive joy can also lead to hasty decisions. How many people have made impulse purchases after receiving good news, only to regret it later? The rule here is simple. Whenever you are very excited or very angry, postpone important decisions. As Brian Tracy explains, the best choices are made in balanced emotional states. Another important aspect is the perception of how your emotions affect others. Maintaining serenity in critical moments can completely transform a situation. Imagine a parent dealing with a child's tantrum. Reacting by yelling often makes the situation worse, while responding calmly helps resolve the conflict and teaches the child to better deal with their own feelings. The same goes for interactions with colleagues, friends, or partners. Emotional balance is contagious and strengthens relationships. Brian Tracy also talks about the importance of reserving your emotions for the right moments. This doesn't mean being cold or indifferent, but knowing that not everything needs to be expressed immediately. An example is when you receive criticism. Reacting defensively can escalate the conflict, while listening patiently can turn criticism into valuable learning. Ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? This type of mindset strengthens not only your emotional intelligence, but also your capacity for growth. And finally, there is the positive impact of controlling your emotions on your own health. Studies show that constant emotional stress can cause physical problems such as headaches, insomnia, and even cardiovascular disease. Taking care of your emotions is ultimately taking care of yourself. Brian Tracy believes that emotional stability is a skill that opens doors to other achievements, such as productivity, confidence, and, above all, inner peace. But how do you apply all of this practically in your life? Well, the answer may lie in the importance of changing perspective, seeing challenges as opportunities for learning and growth. And with that, we get closer to what really matters, staying focused on what is essential for success. Now that you've come this far, it's time to ask yourself, what are you going to do with all this knowledge? You can simply close this page and continue as is, or you can decide to turn everything you learned into action. And that is the difference between those who watch life go by and those who dominate it. Brian Tracy always emphasizes that the future belongs to those who act in the present. So, I ask you, what small steps can you take today that will bring you closer to your big goal? Think about everything we discussed. The sacrifices that build success, the power of investing in yourself, the importance of managing time, changing your mindset to create value, the power of discipline, and the emotional balance that guides the best decisions. All these elements are now at your fingertips. What's missing? Only you decide to put them into practice. Because, in the end, the only person capable of changing your life is you. If you feel afraid of failing, know that this is normal. But as Tracy teaches, the biggest regret is not the mistake, but the opportunity you passed up. So what's the excuse you're ready to let go of today? Remember, successful people don't wait for the perfect moment. They create it. I want to provoke you to act now. How about making a commitment to yourself? Choose a single habit that you're going to change. Start reading that book that has been on the shelf for months, or take the first step towards that project you have always dreamed of. Don't complicate it, just start. After all, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. And to continue on this journey of growth, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, you will find even more strategies, ideas, and inspiration to transform your life. Don't let another day go by without you moving towards what really matters. Are you ready to do your best? Success is waiting for you.